Hey, Rahul. Hey, Peter. Glad we could have you here today. I wanted to get you guys here really just to go over some tips for people that are interviewing. There were a lot of layoffs that had happened, and there's going to be a lot more people that are going to be interviewing virtually. So I want to get you two here together so we can brainstorm ways of how people can really stand out in their next virtual interviews. Great. Well, guys, Rahul, we'll start with you. What do you think people should do before they even start the interview?
Yeah, so good question, because there's a lot that goes into it way before the best interviewers have. It's not during the interview. Of course, they're doing things during the interview, but they've prepped already. So this is a virtual environment. So something that we've noticed a lot of people overlook is their stage. And what we consider the stage is your background, your lighting, your camera angle, how you look, are you dressing the part? So there's a lot of elements there that are very unconscious. And when we're teaching our trainings and doing interviews, people sometimes don't even realize it. And, imagine right now I'm talking in an interview, you're interviewing me, and I have, I'm in my kitchen or something, and I have a bunch of dishes, or maybe, I'm in my room right now and I have a bunch of dirty laundry and my underwear is over here. You may not, maybe you're not going to consciously think anything, but it's going to unconsciously affect you. So the first thing, clearing up your background. Notice here, really clear the little guitar case back there. Super simple. I can put some art on the wall if I want to make it a little bit more interesting as a conversation piece, because you're trying to connect with people too with that interview. So I think that's really important. Another one that I think is important is that lighting. So I actually have a ring set up back here. I'm a trainer, so I want it to look really good. You don't necessarily need to do that, but I know for myself, if I don't have that on, it's mid-morning right now, the light hits the back of my room and I look really dark and you can't really see me. And if I move, then I get light, and then I move back and then it gets dark again. So you don't want that to happen during the interview. You want it to feel as much like you're really connecting to them in person, high def, high quality. You can see them really clearly. You want that effect to be there as well with the virtual interview. So make sure that your lighting is coming in on you and not behind you. That's another big one. And the other is the sound. So if you can have some, I'm not using them now, but have some Bluetooth headphones if you can, or just regular headphones as well. So that way there's no background noise and it doesn't start creating a weird echo and feedback loop. And the last part is yourself. So, if you're a guy, make sure that you're shaved, you look presentable, you got a nice shirt on, and it doesn't matter. And by the way, don't try to calibrate to the company culture super early. If the CEO comes and, Chaz, you're wearing a dirty t-shirt and you're unshaven, who cares? You're the one trying to hire me. So I gotta look the part. I gotta look like I'm taking it seriously and that I'm valuing the interview. So those are a couple of things, just more thinking of it like a movie set. It doesn't need to be perfect, but it needs to look pretty nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. There's just some core basics to really hit to make sure that you just have that foundation. Obviously going above and beyond, having the ring light, the clear back. I mean, that's all something of a well-prepared environment, right? But just to get started with it, hit the basics. Yeah, I mean, it's just the audio. That's one of the biggest parts. Make sure you're in a quiet space like that. That background noise can take away from what you're saying. And the person on the other side's, a person, I mean, they get distracted by background audio, or if it's, choppy because your microphone is rubbing against your shirt, just be aware of those little things to really just make sure you set yourself up so they can hear you correctly and see you okay. Those are so important, because if you're mysterious and dark and light audio, I mean, they're not going to understand who you are, hear what you're saying. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to add, something about the light. You don't have to have a ring light. You can put any light right in front of you.
Exactly.
Like for me, right here, what I did is just I opened the curtains for the windows in front of me just to get natural light coming in this way. So you don't have to have a ring light. You just have to have a light source, consistent light source coming from the front.
That's right. And another thing I mentioned the camera too. Notice that for all of us here, you can see our shoulders, our head. So you guys we're in an interview, it looks great. If I was here and I'm talking and my interview is like this, I don't know. I haven't figured out what the psychological component is, but it looks really funny. You know, like, I don't know. I look like a talking head, and so
Yeah.
you wanna prevent that to an interview. You want to have some level of, at least up to your chest. You can see. You can use your hands, your gestures, things like that. We talk about that in a different video, but you do want the camera angle to be pretty level with
Yeah. Makes sense. I just want to add also about the microphone and the headset and minimizing the external noises. Like if you have a spouse on the phone and they're loud, my wife says I'm loud when I'm on the phone. So you want to be careful with that. Maybe you go to a different room. And I found that one of my clients asked me, "What if I mute my session?"
Mm-hmm.
And as the person is asking me, it's muted, then I mute and I talk. And we recommend against that, because the moment you mute it, you lost the connection. You barely have anything in a virtual session, right? This interactive, this relationship. When you mute it, there's nothing, there's no feedback, and it's going to feel artificial and it's going to affect your presentation. So never mute. However, find a quiet room. Ask your spouse to lower their voice. My wife does that all the time. It's not offensive. I'm okay with it because naturally I talk loud.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's great, guys. And really one final area here to make sure you're prepared and really in the right area is the mindset, right? You know, to get ready for unexpected situations. What if they ask you to stand up and present something? You know, are you wearing a full professional outfit? Something to think about, right? You know, we've all, you know, been there in cases, you know, maybe whatever, shorts on, but just make sure you're in a professional outfit. And of course, starting there and, you know, really the mindset of, hey, maybe there's another person in the interview that you weren't ready for, or maybe they are showing you slides and they want you to talk on those slides. You have to be ready for that. So just getting the mindset of preparing yourself for unexpected things to happen is really good, because then if they do happen, you'll emotionally be better to deal with it versus getting completely thrown off and having to recalibrate yourself. So really getting those expectations right, having your mindset right, and then of course wearing that full outfit in case of any, you know, chance they do ask you to stand up or you do stand up or what have you. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I would add, you have to mentally prep for this to be a different experience than a normal interview. So for example, during the normal interview, when we prep our clients, usually you go to the site and it's a full day of interviews and you meet one person after the other. Now, this might happen in a virtual setting. However, what we've seen in the industry right now is that the interviews get staggered over multiple days. So if you're an introvert, a smart, professional, reserved, and during the normal times, you would just build yourself up and you go and you knock it out over one full day. That was easy for you. Now it's a little bit harder because you have to sustain your energy and optimism and moving forward over a longer period of time, sometimes a week. Like I had a client that interviewed for 2 straight weeks with almost one person per day. So imagine, wow, you're interviewing, you're doing your regular job, you have your regular meetings, and in between you have to sandwich an interview a day. And that's tough. So you do have to set the expectation that this is going to take longer. And that's okay. This is the situation we're in. There's nothing wrong with that. Just set the expectation and you'll be fine.
Wow, that's crazy. 2 weeks in a row. The surprises and just the mindset also makes me think that you have to be ready for surprises with your tech. So checking your tech and making sure that your laptop is plugged in. I know, Peter, you mentioned once that you were like, it was an interview, but you were with a client and suddenly your laptop died.
Embarrassing. And like, we teach this stuff. Yeah. And I forgot to plug it in and it just died.
Yeah. So it's just, you know, that's a basic one. Also running through, if you're going to present, then we've done this with clients, run through Zoom or Skype or Google Slides or whatever they're using to present, make sure that they're comfortable with whatever technology that they're using. You don't want to be sitting there finicking around. Oh, how do I do this? It's just not going to look, even though it's maybe not part of your job, it shows something about how prepared you are for the interview. And are you thinking about little details like that? So you got to check that as well.
Yeah. One more thing under check the tech is make sure you know which tool they're using for the virtual meeting, and make sure you download the software beforehand, because you don't want to be messing with that. Like you have a minute before the interview and you're downloading Zoom. So you download Zoom, download GoToMeeting, download Skype, whatever is needed beforehand, and make sure it works on your system.
You don't want to join an interview with, oh, hey, sorry I'm late. I was downloading Zoom.
That's right.
Not a good way to start.
Yeah.
Exactly. And also just to add on to all of that as well is just to have their contact information ready and set up for, their phone number and email. That way, your point of contact or whoever's going to the interview, if they aren't showing up or if the tech's not connecting, you won't be scrambling last minute trying to find it. You just have that at the ready. You can just quickly call that if as a backup plan.
Absolutely. Like Chaz, just to that point, this is simple stuff, but it happens. Like I have a client who last week, so the admin set up the appointment, and then my client shows up to the virtual appointment and it said, please wait, the host is not there yet. And she was waiting, and the admin was not supposed to be in the meeting. So what she ended up doing, just looking up the manager's email, whoever she was interviewing with, emailed, and he said, oh, I'm experiencing the same thing. And then he sent her a link, she joined, they did the interview. It was great. Now notice what does that say about you, that you're proactive? Because imagine if the manager was just waiting there and is like, where the heck is she?
Yeah.
Makes sense. He wouldn't, like, it would be something against her if she wasn't proactive and had the information beforehand.
Exactly. And that's such a great point, Peter, because the companies value proactivity so much, and with good reason. It's an extremely good quality to have in a workplace. And so if after 3 to 5 minutes, you're not connecting, it's saying, please wait, whatever, reach out. You have full right to reach out at that point. But great, guys. Well, that's really good for us setting up. So I love it. So we're all set up, have our lighting, our sound, our mental preparation. Now, when we are going through the interview, what are some things people can keep in mind to really stand out, set themselves apart, and just to do an overall good job in the virtual interview?
I would say one thing that they can do is act like a leader when they're in the interview. If there's multiple people, make sure they stop and welcome people. Like, let's say I'm interviewing with you and Rahul, you're interviewing me from the company. I join, I'm talking to Rahul, and then Chaz, a minute later, you show up. I'll be like, hi, welcome, Chaz. I'll be taking ownership of the situation and welcoming you. And also feeling free to riff a little bit before jumping to the serious interview. Like, talk about the weather, talk about whatever is happening, how your company is handling COVID-19, whatever it is, make sure you do it because it releases the tension. And I know a lot of our clients are smart professionals and they look down on this fluffy small talk stuff. However, that's super important. All you have to do is just comment on the weather, comment on how you're handling shelter in place, and you will be surprised how this opens up the interview and makes everybody feels welcome and safe.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if you're the one asking, again, you're showing that proactive communication that they'll really appreciate. I love that.
It's a serious power move. Like, start welcoming them in their interview. That's good. When you're talking about just how welcoming them in and making, riffing a little bit, also made me think about being personable. And being, whether we like it or not, you get the job because they like you. And yes, okay, your competency, your skills, your experience, of course, all that matters. But at the end of the day, it's people, they sit down and they don't hire people because they go, okay, this Rahul is great in these ways, but I don't know, something just felt off. It didn't feel like he's you know, he's going to be easy to work with, or he's warm, or whatever it might be. So being personable, and that one thing that comes to mind is smiling. So when people are nervous, and this happens to our clients all the time, they start and they go, "Hi, how's it going?" "Yeah, so I'm going to be starting now." And they have a really serious, like someone died kind of face, you know, and they could be saying all the right things, but it just has a really different tone. Then you get in there, you welcome, "Hey Chaz, good to see you. How's it going? How are you dealing with shelter in place?" "Yeah, you know, I've been blah, blah, blah." And you feel warm, right? So, and I thought about this a lot, just being on the receiving end when we're coaching our clients. And sometimes I'm like, "Oh, are they upset about something?" And then I ask them and they go, "No, I didn't even realize I'm not smiling." So a big one, I think we're all not as aware as we could be about our smiling and what we're doing with our face. And I remember an author that I follow, he's a big blogger. And he said out of school, he went to a great school, and for 6 months straight, just no jobs. And he didn't know what was happening. And one interviewer after 6 months took pity on him, gave him some feedback, and was like, "You know, I got to be honest with you, you don't smile at all. Like you look really serious." And he went back and he's like, "Wow, you know, 6 months straight, no one told me that. I bet that." And they didn't even probably know why they didn't like him. And he was like, "Yeah, I just looked like a serial killer the whole time." You know? and I wasn't smiling. So be really aware of that. And the other two is just body, you know, body posture. So you don't want to be like cramped, or, you know, like going like, you know, imagine if I'm in the interview and I'm going like this, or like, you know, just going like this.
Touching face.
Touching my face. Just especially not touching your face at this period of time.
Touching your eyes.
Touching coughing.
Stay away from the
nose. That's right.
So definitely not going to make you look irresponsible. So, you know, but in general, being aware of what your shoulders are doing, being aware, just sometimes looking at the camera or looking at your frame also to make sure, you know, you're not over here or something like that. So being aware of your body language is super important, I'd say.
Yeah, that's so good. That the smile part is huge, because so many people, when they're looking at a computer doing work, we're so triggered just to not smile and stay
Be
focused.
serious.
You know, what I'm doing, you know, I'm typing or writing an email. I mean, here's my, you know, that's my email face, right? So, you know, that's my face when I'm having an interview. I mean, you know, it's whoa, okay, this guy's
exactly
whatever's going on. So just to remember to transition out of the computer work and people, and just to make that transition for you. I know that's definitely why I've been, you know, if I'm ever cold faced on a video or whatever, it's because I've been staring at a computer all day. So just remember.
Yeah, and I want to plug in a little bit of what we do here. There's an advantage to having a coach, because sometimes you're not even aware of the things. And like the story Rahul shared, sometimes it takes months for you to figure out what's going on. And you just meet with a coach once and you'll get all this feedback. Hey, the way you carry yourself, the way you dressed, are you smiling? How are you addressing the camera? What's your surrounding? How does it look? What kind of image you project? All of that can be done in like less than an hour.
Yeah, it really can. Even a few coaching, a few sessions, a few working with a trainer. I mean, you'd be surprised with just those little increments will change over time like that.
Awesome. Another tip for during, and this is, a lot of people don't appreciate this much. It's acknowledging and giving feedback to the person who is interviewing you. And I'm not saying, like, for example, Rahul asks me a question. Great job, Rahul. I'm not saying verbal feedback, just physical cues that you're listening. Just like nodding your head, moving forward. If you don't do this, what's going to end up happening, Rahul, if I'm like this.
Peter,
Rahul, exactly. It's like, are you frozen? That's going to interrupt the flow. It's going to make the person feel awkward. So you constantly want to be showing signs that you're listening, you're following, you're with them, and the camera is working. Everything is working.
That's true. I am always conscious of that one, because I do get, I'll get, you know, like what Chaz is saying, I'll just kind of stare, to be thinking about what they're saying. And then, Peter sometimes will be like, are you there? Like,
Yeah. I remember when Rahul started working in the company like 4 years ago. And it was like, that was an issue because he'll be like, I'll be like, are you still there? Oh yeah, I'm here. I'm just thinking. He goes in meditation state.
Yeah, that's a good reminder. Another one too is, with the feedback. Okay, so you're making it a bi-directional flow of information. It's a visual information. You're not saying anything, but it's still information that you're transmitting. And the other two is, in interviews, people get into the habit. It feels like, wow, I'm just talking and talking and talking. I should probably shut up, but I don't know what to do. How do I stop talking? One thing you can do is ask what we call follow-up questions. And what that means is you just pause for a second. You might just say, hey, does that make sense so far? Or, do you have any questions for me about that? Or do you want me to dig? Or even just say, like, maybe you're talking about a particular experience that you had in the past. You give them a high level, and then you could say, would you like me to say a little bit more about that? And that way they can go, or they can say, yeah, sure. Like, tell me more. I'd be like, actually, I want to hear about this when you're working at this company. Can you tell me about that? So it makes it feel more of a conversation and not just you're on the hot seat, just blurting out stuff.
Absolutely. I would also use the questions to engage the interviewer. Like, let's say Rahul is interviewing me and Rahul says, tell me about a time you solved XYZ problem. And then I will answer. And then maybe at the end, I will ask, like, oh, is XYZ a problem you guys are having at your company? Right. That's and good. Now all of a sudden it flips the plates, and now he's going to talk. He's going to give me more information. And now we're going to bond, because if this is a serious issue in Rahul's organization and I just answered him about XYZ, what he's interested in, it makes a big deal. It makes a big impression.
That's great.
That's great, guys. Such good points behind that too. Because but before I was at Magnetic Speaking, I was doing recruiting before, and one of the things I would always hear from the managers that were doing the interviewing, the feedback of why they didn't go with someone. This is probably one of the top choices. The top reasons why they did not go with someone is because they couldn't get a word in. They couldn't get the questions that they wanted to. They couldn't ask the questions. And they, a lot of times managers will come in with a set of questions or an idea of what they want to see the interviewee has done in the past. And, if you're going on so long in one area that they maybe wanted a 30-second answer to, but it's taking you 5 to 10 minutes, that takes a lot away from the other question. So this is a skill that is never going to be complete. It's the skill of being concise, right? Saying what's needed to be said, not too much and not too little. That's the one thing to really master here when it comes to the content. But just to not go too long and to use these skills that Rahul and Peter are talking about. And I love it. You guys are bringing those up of really to check in. You have to check in and say, is that making sense? Because if they say, yeah, please tell me more, then you're good and you can talk more confidently on it.
Yeah. On that note, Chaz, also like following a structure. Like one of the things we teach our clients and in our trainings and coaching is a structure called the SEED, statement, evidence, emotion. And you want to stick to something like this every time you answer. That's going to force you to be concise and laser focused, because if you're analytical and if you're working on problems and details, what ends up happening when you're doing interviews, you're going to share too much details, and that's going to take a lot of time. And instead of answering in 30 to 60 seconds, it ends up taking like half an hour, and that's the whole interview. And you don't want to do that. You want to follow a structure to answer the questions, check in, follow up questions, making sure you're answering what they need to be answered.
And I was just going to add, it's related to both of what you guys just said. This is a virtual interview, so you have even less leeway to ramble and to go on and on, because it's one thing when you're in person and they go a little bit longer, but it's even more, people get more impatient when it's virtual and they're staring at the screen and you're going on and like, okay, it's just more, we all know we've been doing this for a while now with the situation, and it can be very exhausting. So I would say you even have to be you have to do these things that you have to do in person anyway, some of these delivery techniques that we're talking about, but you got to do that stuff even more in a virtual setting, like give the feedback, check in, ask questions, be concise, have a framework and a structure. Maybe you really can't, you still have to do it in person, but you can get away with a little bit more. I don't think there's as much leeway in the virtual environment.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be a little more precise with it.
I think so.
That's great. Well, great guys. Before we start wrapping up here, I mean, any other things you want to mention in terms of either preparation, going through it, or really overall process?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Things you need to do before you get on the interview. We highlighted few of the most important things and things you need to do during the interview, and we highlighted few different things. And if you need help or assistance or support, we are here for you. Just connect with us. Most likely Chaz will chat with you and figure out if we can help you or not. And also with this podcast, with this conversation, we also have a follow-up blog article that has more details and more information. I would encourage you to check out our blog, and hopefully you'll find value in it, and good luck with your job search.